Hey everybody, so we are starting our new unit, and it's usually the unit that everybody looks forward to the most. It's Unit 8, Criminal Psychology. Now is when you get to pick your serial killer and research and get in their dark, evil, dirty little minds. Um, so I kind of just want to navigate you through Canvas so you have an idea of what to expect and what's going on. Okay. So looking right here, we can see my screen. This is just what the main page looks like. You got the announcements. And on Monday, I posted this announcement saying that we're, starting to research our serial killer and to pick somebody. Now, if you look down here, I've got some suggestions of who you could use or do it on. And any of these guys are fantastic. You'll notice in parentheses, I have things like Jack the Ripper and that he's older. Same with H.H. Holmes. And when I say older, we're talking about early 1900s. And so some of these serial killers, even though they can be famous and way fascinating, interesting, they can be hard to research simply because there's not a lot of information on them. So just keep that in mind. I wouldn't say don't do them. I've had a lot of people do H.H. Holmes and Jack the Ripper. And I mean, H.H. Holmes, he's way fascinating. But once again, you just know that the content that you're going to be looking for might be a little bit harder to come by versus somebody like Ted Bundy. Okay, so you can definitely do a partnership. If you look down here, it says Barbie and the Ken Killers. That was a male and female partnership. So you're more than welcome to do a partnership. Just understand that when you are doing this assignment, that you'll want to focus on one person on the partnership. And then when you're explaining like their MO, the way they went about their crimes, then you can bring the partnership back in. And so it'll just help you to get a better idea psychologically what's going on if you focus on one person. You can definitely focus on both of them, but you're taking a research paper that's supposed to be around 4 pages and turning it into something that could be a lot bigger because there would be so much there. So anyways, that would be my suggestion. Now if we look here on Monday, I asked you to focus on 2 things. One, to pick your serial killer. And then the information I wanted you to gather was what their MO, their mode of operation, and what was their childhood like. Okay. Now, just a couple key points when it comes to your serial killers. Usually what's done unto them is what they're repeating. So a lot of them have horrific childhoods. And so don't be surprised that you maybe start feeling a little sympathetic or understanding why they did what they did because of all the horrific things that happened to them. Now, not everybody falls in that category, although a lot do. But individuals like Ted Bundy, he did really not have a horrible childhood. So don't think yours has to fall in that category, but most of them do. Okay, so I want to also bring up when you're picking your serial killer, you got to be careful that you do not pick what they call a spree killer. I think I have that mentioned in here. Not a spree or a mass murderer. Okay, so I just want to explain to you what a spree killer is. A spree killer is they kill 3 or more individuals in a single event. For example, at home they get in a fight, they kill a loved one, they hop in their car, they're rage, they're still upset, and they go to a gas station, they shoot whoever is in the gas station, and they jump back in their car and they travel down on the path and they get in a wreck and they shoot whoever is in the opposing vehicle. So they might have killed 3 people, but it wasn't, well, it was all in just one single event. Maybe even it happened over 1 to 2 days, but there needs to be a cooling off period. So whoever your serial killer is, they need to have killed 3 people minimum, and there needs to be a cooling off period. So a space of 2 to 3 days between a kill. So the event cannot be related. Okay. There was another incident of a spree killer who a man went into a dormitory of it was, geez, in the 50s, but went into a female dormitory of a nursing group and killed somewhat between 8 of the 9 women there. And it took place over several days. So that'd be an example of a spree killer killing several people, but it happened all in one single event. Okay? A mass murderer, I mean, that is a bomb. That is, you look like the Twin Towers. They'd be considered mass murderers if that's somebody that killed a large number of people in a single event. So just keep that in mind when you look at your serial killer. And if you're unsure, then email me, shoot me a message, and I can kind of help steer you one way or another. All right, so on Monday, that's when you started your research. Now I'm going to back this up. Now, if you look right here, it tells you to, look below. You'll see more of the schedule of Unit 8. So we're just going to scroll on down. There's Unit 6, our blood spatter. Unit 7, mortality, that you took your tests on. Okay, here's where we're at, criminal psychology. Okay, so you've got your daily schedule. This is the announcement that we just went through. And then I'm going to talk about these 3 items. Okay? So let's just pull up this schedule. I am going to update this. So you'll see more information just so you know the direction which way we're headed. Okay? So like we said, April 13th, pick your serial killer, research your childhood and their MO, their mode of operation. Okay? April 14th, which was today, I wanted you to dive in a little bit more about your serial killer. And I was hoping you would look to find this information. All right. The sex, the age, occupation, IQ, social interests, all these items can be found. Travel to more than one site. Make sure they are credible. Government, EDU, Wikipedia. Okay. But just understand that if you do pick somebody like H.H. Holmes, Jack the Ripper, it's going to be a lot harder to find this information. So on number 1, this might be pretty scarce, not having a lot. But maybe in number 2, that's where you find tons of information. So just understand, I don't expect everything to be answered, okay, based on your serial killer. All right, let's look at what number 2 is. Now, your antecedent. That is what triggered them into killing. Like what led up to that point where they finally decided to take someone's life. So it tells you what fantasy or plan. Maybe they had a thought. Maybe they're into pornography and the fantasies just got richer and richer. Maybe they're into animal mutilations, and same thing, the thoughts, the fantasies just got bigger and bigger. Maybe a loved one died and that triggered them. So what took place before? So it says, what fantasy or plan, or both, did the murderer have in place before the act? Okay. Would trigger the murderer to act some days and not others. So once again, there's a cooling off period. Why did they have that cooling off period, and what would make it stop? Okay, so it's really in-depth research to try to find what this stuff is. Okay, number 3, method and manner. What type of victim or victims did the murderer select? Now, if we go back and we think about Richard Ramirez, who we talked about first try, his victimology was random. It was just whatever windows were open is what he went into. And so your job is to find out, well, how did he pick his victims? What was the method and manner of the murder? So how did the actual murder take place? Okay, what physical abuse did they sustain? And which way were they killed? All right, now you'll see that on tomorrow, on Wednesday and Thursday, I want you to take a look at going through more of the unit. Now, your serial killer research is all going to be compiled into a report. All right, now this report isn't going to be due until April 26th, so you have this week, all of next week, and Monday, all right, or on Sunday. And so there is time for you to put this together, and I want this to be a slower process, because as you learn about the psychology of your serial killers, you can go back and be like, oh man, that my guy did this. Oh, I understand why he did this. I understand what this term means. So we're going to just slowly research and find information about him. So I'll make sure we plug that into the schedule. So on April 15th, tomorrow, I want you to open up the PowerPoint. I want you to look at slides 1 through 13. Okay. Now the good news, if you look here, you do not need to fill in any notes in your Unit 8 notes packet. It's already all filled in, and I'll show you that. April 16th, same thing. I want you to look at some slides, and then you're going to take your first quiz over Unit 8. So it'll be the same process as Unit 7. Quiz, assignment, and then end of the unit test. Okay. Now I am going to throw this out there. I was really, really, really proud of the scores we were getting for our Unit 7 test. But I'm also not going to be naive in the fact that people that didn't do any quizzes at any assignments are getting an A on the test. I mean, I would hope that there was integrity involved in taking the test, but reality is that is probably not realistic to every student that I have. So calling it like it is, but I'm going to change it up a little bit. Once again, your notes packet will already be all filled in. I am going to make the assignments and the quizzes worth more points. That way you don't feel, well, I don't want anybody to just study the night before and then take a test and use their open notes. And I mean, that kind of defeats the whole purpose of why you even took this class. This class is so fascinating. So enjoy the process of learning information and working through assignments. I'm trying to make the assignments as close to what we could do in a classroom, especially when it comes to labs. So dive into that. The other thing that I've decided that I'm going to change is I have about 65% of you guys that are with me on the ball, taking the tests, and getting stuff done. But that's still not a high enough number for me. So I feel that if you have not completed quizzes or assignments, I'm going to let you go back and do those. But you will not be able to take an end of the unit test unless you've completed every assignment, quiz, passing your quizzes at 80% or higher before I'm going to let you do that end of the unit test. So it kind of opens up the freedom that everybody can kind of do things more at their pace, especially if you already feel that you're behind and you're buried and you're ready to give up. I don't want you to give up. Just know that it's just one step at a time, and you got to start somewhere. So if you're interested in that, because I still have a chunk of you that have not taken the Unit 7 test, the one we just barely took, and I still have some that have not turned in their work from the Serology Unit 6. So once again, if you're interested in that, I want an email. I want some communication. I want to make it open between the two of us so we can kind of work out something, okay? Which I would love to do. All right, so I know I've got a couple more minutes before this video will close, so let me back this up. All right, so serial killer report assignment. All right, so if you open this up, it just takes you through exactly what I'm going to want you to do in your research report. Like I said, you can see it's due April 26th, and I open this up. And it just shows you there's going to be a part 1 and a part 2. Okay, and in part 1, you are looking up the 6 points of information. Like I said, I had you today work on number 1, 2, and 3. And then on Friday, I'm going to have you work on finding 4, 5, and 6. So you're kind of piecing this already together. Now, part 2 is when you actually summarize the story of the serial killer. So you're giving me more in-depth detail about their childhood and maybe episodes that happened throughout their life. Part 1 is abstract version. So I'm just going to show you a quick copy of a student that I got before this ends. Sorry, I should have this up. Yes, there's a million folders. Okay. All right, let's have you take a look at this. So here's part 1. Like I said, there's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, short and sweet. And then there's part 2. This is the storyline. I want more detail events that happened. All right, you guys. Well, this is going to end.